Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about a book review. And that specific book review is over the new Warhammer Horror Stories book that just came out, Maledictions. So, this book was really good. I enjoyed quite a bit of it. It's not exactly what I expected, to be perfectly honest. So we'll just kind of go over it just really quick. So it's Maledictions. It's a collection of horror stories through the 40K and the Warhammer universe, which kind of threw me off because originally on the inside cover it says Warhammer Horror Stories. So my initial thought was it's all going to be all fantasy, but it spans both universes. This book has a bunch of short stories by Josh Reynolds, David Annandale, Cassandra Caw, Graham McNeil, Peter McLean, Laura Gray, Paul Kane, Alec Worley, and many more. Ooh, hold on here. Let's see if we can get those many mores out for you. J.C. Stearns, Elsie Weber, Richard Strand. There's only like 2 more names. Why couldn't they tag them on there? Goodness. But anyways, those are some of the authors. Obviously, you guys know probably like Graham McNeil, David Avondale, Josh Reynolds, I'm pretty sure, is relatively well-versed in the Warhammer universe. So basically, I'll read you the back here real quick. Horror is no stranger to the dark world of Warhammer. Its very fabric is infested with the arcane, the abnormal, the downright terrifying, from the cold vastness of the 41st millennium to the creeping evil at large in the mortal realms. This anthology of short stories explores the sinister side of Warhammer in a way like never before. Psychological torment, visceral horrors, harrowing accounts of supernatural and nightmares buried within. The collection brings together a grim host of tales to chill the very blood. So basically, I got these expecting horror stories. And it's not a horror story as I don't want to say a traditional horror story, like there's ghosts and then they get spooky, like you get spooked, or, they're, creeping down a hallway and boo, something jumps out. So it's more so along the lines of the horrors within the universe, if that makes sense. So basically, like, I don't know. It's kind of like a scare house. You walk in, you know it's fake, obviously, but it's about being in the situation, per se. So, like, you walk in, and you're creeped out more so by the fact that that guy is disemboweling that lady chained to the table, or that there's severed heads all over the room. It's the horror as the fact of the situation, more so than it actually being scary or making you feel creeped out, per se. And obviously it all plays into situations and stories and scenarios in the Warhammer universe. So I basically, as I went through, I knew I was going to do a book review on this, so I basically took down notes on what type of people or what the setting is of each thing. There's a few of them. I'm probably going to skimp on telling you what, maybe either what it's about, so that it doesn't ruin the story for you, maybe. Because there was a few of them that I was like, oh man, this is Warhammer, but then it slowly kind of transitions into 40K, and you just didn't realize it was like a feral world or something like that. So the first one's very obvious. It's Mechanicum. The second, there's 11 stories in total. They're all about 25, 30 pages each. There's 343 pages in the book, so it's a good-sized book. Let's see. The first story was about the Mechanicus. The second one was about humans by the sea. The third one is about Sylvaneth. The fourth one is about a hive city. Fifth one is about humans and and ghosts, I guess. The sixth book is about Imperial Guard. The seventh one is about a commissar and an inquisitor. The eighth one is about a planetary governor. The ninth one is about basically humans again. And typically whenever I say it's about humans, it means it's in a Warhammer fantasy setting. Or AOS, whatever you want to say. The 10th book was about Dark Eldar. And the 11th one, I really don't want to say because I don't want to run it. Basically, it's about humans. I'll just put it like that. So, yeah. The 11th one was actually probably my favorite story. In here, it turned out pretty good. Ending probably was the best. The last story was probably the best. It took you in a direction you didn't expect to go, and it definitely ended in a way that was kind of actually horrifying. So, just to go over some of this stuff, the mechanics of this one, just some details. The first story, it was really good, but it had some odd vocabulary, not typical words. Like, it had some words in there that you don't see in normal everyday language. Pardon me. And I don't know. It didn't ruin the story or anything like that. But there were a few words I genuinely had to go back and look them up because I didn't know what the heck they meant. Obviously, I could get what they meant out of the, what was going on in the scene. But yeah, the second book was about the Humans by the Sea. It was okay. It was slightly obvious what it was about. But it takes a while to kind of figure it out. Maybe. Obviously, depending on how into the lore you are and that type of stuff. The Sylvaneth one was actually pretty stinking creepy. It's kind of a little bit of a psychological horror, that one is. So, I liked it quite a bit. And you know what? I'm sorry. The Sylvaneth and the Hive City one are switched. So the Hive City is number 3, the Sylvaneth is number 4. I forgot, I accidentally wrote them down later and ended up writing them down wrong. But the Sylvaneth, nonetheless, is still creepy. The Hive City one is also extremely creepy. It involves some rather diabolical and rather vile, basically murder. It's pretty dark. So that one was definitely creepy. The 5th one, the Ghosts and Humans, it didn't feel like Warhammer at all. It didn't feel like it had any kind of connection. It genuinely just, there was hardly any reference outside of a guy had some sort of griffin. It was like a griffin mount, basically. It was like a horse. But that was, and it had like the Griff something, so that was the only like tie-in to Warhammer whatsoever. So everything else felt completely not in the setting of Warhammer at all. Like there was no references to Sigmar or anything at all, unless maybe I just didn't catch something. But that's just me. Number 6. Really, I mean, you could probably copy and paste it into a Vietnam horror storybook, and you're gonna get something close. The number 7 is pretty cool. It's got my favorite faction in it. I won't let that out because it basically, you don't find out what's going on until the very end of the story. So I won't let that out. But it does have a commissar and an inquisitor in it. And it's pretty neat. Number 8, definitely one where I wasn't expecting what happened in the end. It had a twist ending, which was pretty cool. It was rather enjoyable. Number 9, the Humans. They're basically in the sewers, and to be perfectly honest, it didn't do much for me. I could see how it was related to the Warhammer fantasy, but it just, I don't know. It really didn't do a whole heck of a lot for me for the story. The Dark Eldar one was good, but the ending, I don't want to say it was too positive, but I don't think it should have ended the way it did. Obviously, the editors had their choice. They told them, hey, this is good with what you wrote, or whatever, but I don't think it ended on too much of a high note. Because really, anything that involves Dark Eldar is just not going to end well for everybody. Then the last book, like I said, I think that was one of my favorites with the last story, with the humans. And yeah, it has a cool twist on the end, and it turns out really well. And I think it was actually one of the longer ones in here. After a while, I was kind of like looking back, a couple pages back to find out how many I had to read left. So yeah, overall, pretty solid book. Like I said, it's more so about the horror of the situation of what these people are in rather than actually, so not bad. It had, there was one weird mistake that stood out for me, and it's not like a huge deal. It basically says this guy gets thrown off, or what was it? He fell to his knees, and then the next sentence, the floor shakes, and they're thrown off their feet. So it's like, did he get thrown down to his knees, or did he fall off his feet? So not grammatical, but maybe editing errors or something like that. Maybe someone missed that when checking back over it or whatever. And obviously, he could have fell down to his knees, gotten up back up really quick, but within one sentence, it doesn't really make sense that he fell down to his knees, and then the floor shook, and then they were thrown off their feet. I don't know. Really not that big a deal. I think there were like a few little tiny things like that here and there that were just kind of like, hey, you guys missed that. So, but overall, pretty solid book. It took me a little while to read just because I don't have as much time as I would like to read. It probably would have taken me, just because the spacing on the letters, as you can see, isn't really, it's probably teenage Harry Potter level type, print. So it probably would have taken me a good solid weekend to finish up, maybe two or 3 days or something like that if I really put some time into it. But I was just kind of reading it like an hour here, an hour there, maybe spend part of an afternoon on a Saturday or something whenever the kid wasn't home or something. But yeah, overall, great book, highly recommended. It's currently $8.99 in the UK, $16 in the US, so relatively cheap for almost 400 pages of good solid reading. Like I said, there was only like one or so stories that I wasn't too thrilled about. The only thing that I don't like about short stories like this is there's not no character development, but it's hard to develop it into something greater in like 30 pages. Because it's basically just the action, here are the characters, here's two quick blips about them, and that's really all there is to them. So there's no growth per se in the story. It's more so, here's the action, here's what happened, here's the end. Some of the endings were a little bit skimpy per se. They definitely came and went type things, but other than that, it was good. I liked it, so highly recommend it. Hope you enjoyed the review. I will be doing the pardon me, goodness, scratchy throat. I believe it's not the Lost and the Damned. It's the Sinners and the Damned or something, but it's the next book. It's not a continuation, but it's another one of the horror books. I'm gonna start reading that hopefully this afternoon or maybe by next weekend or something like that. We'll see. And then after that, I think there's like a Sisters of Battle one that's a horror book. There's one that's based on the vampires from Warhammer Fantasy. So I know that one's there. I think that one actually has maybe 2 books. Oh, there they are. Right freaking there. So the next one I'm starting on is The Wicked and the Damned, and then the vampire one is Drachenfell. Drachenfell? But there they are. So Wicked and the Damned, Drachenfell. So those are kind of next up on my list, and then I think there are some more that are coming out in time. So I'll let you know how they go, and yeah, hope you enjoy the review. See you.